Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of our podcast. We actually have a very special episode today. Being that it is October in 2025, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we are going to have a very special cybersecurity focused episode. Again, my name is David Levine, founder and CEO of ResTech Solutions. And joining me today, I have Nick Gipson with Gipson Cyber. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, same here. Go ahead and give you the floor. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yes, thank you. My name is Nick Gipson. I'm a CEO of Gipson Cyber. I have been a digital forensic investigator for most of my cybersecurity career for the Department of Defense and Fortune 500s. I was the person that they called when cybersecurity incidents and data breaches needed to be cleaned up. Now I focus on doing that for small businesses with my company.
All right, fantastic. So I just want to open the floor, see if there's anywhere you'd like to start today. I know what we really wanted to focus on was, small businesses, talking about cybersecurity, especially since this is the perfect time to be doing that with Cybersecurity Awareness Month going on.
Yes, definitely. It's always a great time of year. I like to consider between November 1st and January 1st as hack season. So that is why a cybersecurity month is set up is in October.
Yeah, that's perfect because I know as we kind of get into the holiday season, post Halloween, everyone truly goes into the holiday mode. It's like, you're
Hmm.
shopping online, you're in store, you're out and about, you're traveling. It's rife with scammers this time of year, taking advantage because they know people are going to be online more buying. So you really want to watch out for, where you're shopping, where you're putting in your credit card information and things of that nature. So a lot of different areas we could go into here.
Yes, and it's really like a perfect storm situation every year between that time because not only do you have all of the retail aspect of it going on, but you have all the business aspect of it going on. End of the year taxes being done, filings and just generally people doing donations and large business donations, that sort of thing at the end of the year. So there's a lot of money moving around in this time. And when there is money moving around, that is when cyber criminals are moving. So I've already seen an uptick where, I help people get through cyber attacks when they need to. And I've already seen it uptick this year where our businesses started to get heavy because we're getting into that time of year and 2025 has already been pretty crazy.
It has. Well, let's start with the kind of low hanging fruit. Let's just talk about from the consumer side, since we know that we definitely have an increase in activity this time of year. So I'll just start out by saying, when you're going online to shop, be very mindful that you're actually going to the intended website. When you're clicking links off emails, make sure they're actually going to the store that you are expecting to go to. Double check the spelling and the site URL. Make sure the URL starts with that HTTPS so you know it's a secure site. And then actually, I would even recommend if you have the capability to do like a virtual credit card number for each specific purchase, do that as an extra layer of protection because in case one of these sites gets compromised, because it may not even be through anything that you do, but then
Yes.
your whole card is not, and you can easily just cut off that one virtual number and the rest of your financial information related to that credit card is protected. So that's kind of the one piece of advice I would definitely recommend doing. And if that's something like, well, cool, what is that? How do I do that? Be more than happy to help you out. Reach out. We'll put our info in the description below this video. Be more than happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Yes, when not only when you're out there shopping online in the regular stores, but also when you're seeing those Facebook ads and those TikTok ads for certain products, they're going to be pushing those really heavy. There has been more times than not that even my family has my wife has come across where she's gotten scammed out of that. Where the product was purchased from a site, but it never came. And that stuff happens all the time. So always buy through reputable sites like Amazon, Target, Walmart, even the TikTok store, and actual real sites that have compliance standards and security protocols.
Yeah, and I'll definitely, especially this time of year, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes. Yeah, but I really this was reminds me of a story of my wife really likes this one brand called Pioneer Woman. They sell it at Walmart and Target and other places. And about 2 years ago, around this time, there was a fake ad going out. It was a deep fake of the CEO of that of Pioneer Woman saying that there's a sale going on for all these pots and pans, $700 for the pots and pans for $7. Just put your credit card information in. And yeah, it was a big scam. They got a lot of money from that, and it took a while. It took about a couple weeks for everyone to realize it. Um, so that stuff happens all the time. Be leery. There is no deal of a lifetime sort of things happening nowadays. Even Black Friday isn't really Black Friday anymore. You don't get great deals on Black Friday anymore. So don't think that you're going to get great deals anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point about like the deepfakes. So even talking about AI, because AI is so prevalent now that even the scammers are now using that. So you really scrutinize things because there's so much out there now that, is not legit, but you've got to have a real discerning eye to detect that now. Because even the emails before, you could obviously, notice it like horrible grammar, misspellings. But now with AI, they can send near perfect emails or replicas of emails from major brands. So just be aware of that. And of course, with all the tools out there now that you can do, clone yourself, make an avatar, clone your voice. So there's that as well to be aware of.
Yes, there's a lot of I mean, it's been happening with more affluent people, but it's happening to regular people as well. And I'll mention a story on it. It's people getting called and getting told that their loved ones are in trouble in some way, and they have to pay in some way to do something to help them out. So it could be a fake ransom, as the most like prolific one that's out there that happens that you hear about the most. But there's also stuff like I had a client that contacted me because he needed a security review after his grandfather got a call saying that the grandson, my client, was in a car accident and that it hit a pregnant lady in Clearwater, Florida, and needed bail money. And that never happened. That was not a thing. So it always, 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 always verify through a secondary source that you did not get it from. If you get a call, verify by email or through Facebook message or TikTok message or whatever. So if I'm getting a message from David and I don't really think it's really the real legit, I'm gonna go and message you on LinkedIn, David, or I'm gonna go email you or something like that and find out through a different way that this is legit or not.
Well, and another thing, because I'll play devil's advocate a little bit, because you may not know what methods or accounts of the person were compromised, and if this, especially
Mhm.
someone who's close, like family, have like an emergency or secret code word that that
Yes.
only you would know. So when you're reaching out, it's like, hey, this happened. Just want to verify. Can you confirm? And then if you're talking to the actual person, they should know, hey, when you're asking a very specific thing, they know to respond with that word, and then you can go from there. And then, of course, once you use it, consider changing that word.
Yes, yes. That's one of the things that's being taught to families, just like having a fire plan in the home of what happens to do in a fire. What happens when someone calls and says they're the police and they have me locked up? What do you do? And or something along those lines. That is going to happen more and more often as we get further and further into AI, and as AI becomes more and more prevalent in our world, which happens exponentially every day. They're very something they should be looking out for, and always I say never trust, always verify.
Definitely agree with that. So, I mean, bottom line, you can't believe everything you see, hear, or are told. Definitely, do your due diligence, verify. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, and just common sense. That's, I think, what it always boils down to is common sense and just having a general understanding of what's going on in the world and technically with the world because it impacts everybody. But
Yeah, I find that people that get in trouble don't think it through, even though they might not know exactly how things work. They know how like people and processes work, and they should probably have maybe something should have caught them. Uh, that that happens all the time. Every time I go do an investigation, there's always something where they saw it, but they didn't do anything about it, or didn't know to do anything about it, or what have.
yeah, I mean, those little things that you just might ignore, but even in the example of, you're getting those quote unquote scam calls where, they're
Mhm.
trying to prey on, your fear of something. But if you take a moment, step back, again, if y'all plan ahead knowing that this can and will eventually happen, know a specific question that asks that, you can easily, based on the response, be able to verify if what you're being told is true or not. or at least give you a much better idea.
Yes. Yeah. Always verify in different ways. I'd also like to kind of discuss keeping, sensitive information and locking your credit score, locking you down and kind of keeping your personal, what I call personal cyber hygiene, if you don't mind, David. So when you're talking about business security and digital security, people always look at the products, computers, phones, email addresses, that sort of thing. But there is a type of security, personal security, that most security professionals like myself can't really prevent a lot from, and that's if your data gets compromised and then used for nefarious purposes, like your social security number gets compromised and a new bank loan in your name gets put into it. Those things are combated by locking your credit score. There's still a great number of people that don't know about this. You can go and call, it's a pain. It really is. It's a pain in the butt, but you can call each credit bureau and have them lock your account. And basically what it means is it's a freeze on the account, in that you cannot have a credit score check run or have any sort of credit inquiry be done on your account until you physically call the creditors and unlock the accounts. It has to be done individually at each individual credit bureau. So all three, TransUnion, Expedient, and what's the other one?
Is it Transamerica? Or I think it's something else.
Yeah, something like that. So, uh, all three bureaus that are neat, that are prominent, and there's actually more than that, but there are those are the big three you should be locking your accounts down with. And then if you have a security monitoring or a identity monitoring service like a LifeLock or something along those lines, that's an extra layer of security as well.
Yeah. And so I believe also with those the credit freezes, I think you can even go to their website and actually do it from the website too. So you don't necessarily have to call, I believe.
Yes, I think that from what I looked at the process last, you initiate the service on the website, and then they call and verify information from you.
Okay, well that would make sense. And
Yeah.
then I'll add on the identity monitor because I was going to actually mention that too. Definitely have that, but do your due diligence and actually look at because yes, they're helping to monitor your data, but what are their privacy and security practices with your data? Because some of those actually will still sell or monetize your data. So I would be aware of that. And then also look for a provider that not only can monitor and help you protect your data, but will go a step further and actually help scrub your data off the data broker websites out there where people are getting your information too. And again, most do not, but if that's something you'd like to know more, again, please reach out. Be happy to help you out and have that conversation with you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really needed thing out there for sure.
So I know we've been talking a bit more consumer focused, but let's kind of shift it back towards the business side because obviously there's, as you were mentioning earlier on, there's some very business specific pieces as well. And again, a lot of what we talk about on one side or the other, take note because some of that you can probably adapt and do on the other side as well, depending on how that may apply. So just don't think it's just, oh, just this is just consumer, this is just business. We're maybe talking specific things, but the general principle may still apply across the board.
Yes. And where the business side of the house differs is that you are less in control of your data than you are with your personal information, and especially your client information as well. You have people that have access to it outside of your privy. And even if you don't have employees, I'm saying your accountant, your banker, your all
Your
these other
CPA.
different places, your CPA, yeah, all these different places have your information, and you need to be weary of how they're handling that information, especially if you're talking about CPAs and accountants. There is strict regulations on what the IRS mandates on how they should be handling your data, and things like having a written information security plan called a WISP. If you should ask your accountant, let me see your WISP. If they don't have that or don't know what it is, that's a bad sign. If they can provide it to you, which they should be able to easily because it's a document that they need to have on hand for anytime they get audited by the IRS, great. Then they are a company that values their security. But I have far too often do I see accountants still into 2025 not doing the proper things they need to be doing and holding hundreds of people's worth of data open to be compromised and exploited and liable for abuse.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think it's still one of those things that's not very well known to a lot of these entities that should know this. So again, it's I think right now really still it's more about the education and understanding, okay, hey, you gotta be do these things, but I'll even, kind of take it more at a global scope. Um, because I know this is probably something that even less businesses know about, but the Section 5 of the FTC Act,
Mm.
it, really relates to fair and deceptive practices. It relates to doing business and actually how it can be applied to cybersecurity. And this actually applies to every single business in the US. It doesn't matter if you're a single solopreneur, very small, all the way to your multi-million, multi-billion dollar companies. It applies evenly across the board. So it's important to be
And
aware of that as well as individual state laws as well.
yes, and even to the point of it's across the board as the FTC guidelines are a if you have a data breach that is bad enough to incur FTC fines, it's a minimum $50,000 fine no matter what company you are.
Yep.
If
So I
you're a
mean,
small business, that's a business killer.
yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, and we're not even talking like ransomware. It could just be something as someone got in and data was leaked, and now you got customer information exposed. I mean, it's huge.
Yes, and it's so crazy that our laws here in the United States are very lax in this, and there's not a lot of mandatory reporting. So you may have a data compromise that you have never been told about, and that's really scary out there. For example, down here in Florida, you don't the companies don't have to report it if they don't lose more than 500 records. So if they lose 498 records, you don't have to tell anyone. And that's I think that's wrong. I think we should be changing that at the law level. But it just goes to show you that your data is out there exposed, and you need to be always of the mindset that your data is already compromised, and you need to make sure that it's not going to affect you now. Does that make sense?
Yep. So again, that tying that back, from an individual perspective, that's why you need to have that identity monitoring service. And
Mm,
then even at the business level, and again, you can do this at the individual level as well, have a dark web monitoring service so you can track what information is getting on the dark web. And from an identity standpoint, that's also where a lot of those services will look is check the dark web based on the information you provide to see if
yes.
any of that has been leaked.
So yeah, I think that there's a lot of things going on this time of year, and that's where attackers are moving. So please, if you do have anything, if they need any questions or anything like that in terms of security, feel free to reach out.
Yep. Again, below the video in the description, we'll have our contact information. So please do reach out. Always open to answer a question. Um, you know, Definitely want to help and make sure that something gets taken care of versus just letting something fester because that's not good for you. And as a whole, it's not good for anybody because again, if they can get away with one, they know they can get away with so many others.
Yes, and they are getting away with them, and it's really just a matter of time until this happens. So something happens to you, and I hope that you're prepared for when it does happen.
Yep, that's a good point. It's not if but when. And I remember the other point I wanted to bring up, kind of back when we talking about the fines and the FTC and all of those things. I mentioned like state laws. So I know there's about I think 4 states, and Texas was one of the most recent ones that did this. They have a new law that if you are meeting certain requirements and you have an incident, and through investigation they found well you did everything you were supposed to do, you can be exempt from punitive damages. So there's laws out there now that are giving more of a carrot than the stick. I
Hmm.
mean, it's probably still not the end all be all because they're still not necessarily mandating things to prevent this, but they're saying if you're doing it, hey, we're not going to necessarily come throw the book at you per se.
Yes, well, a lot of business owners don't realize or know, and I would never have been told that there is a cyber insurance. There's cyber insurance policies that you can get, and it will cover you for breaches, ransomware, anything that would cover anything that would fall or happen to even PR level stuff from a data breach, right? But here's the thing. If you don't do your proper due diligence, like you were saying, David, if you don't have the proper things in place to protect yourself as much as possible, and the insurance company finds out about that, your policy becomes void and they won't pay.
Yeah,
You need
that's
a
one
for
possibility. Cause yeah, I
yeah,
mean, they'll deny a claim, they find investigation, but a lot of what's also happening too is, I know there's been, increasing instance of this happening is they'll turn around and then sue the policyholder for insurance fraud.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess you could say that, but then I mean, how is that playing out in court? Because technically they
But when
didn't
you
do
get
their
when you get
their
cyber insurance, you have to fill out a questionnaire with the insurance company.
yeah.
And to them, that's law. That's the you say you're
Exactly.
doing this, and if you're not 100% compliant with this, that's how they're kind of doing that, knowing that. So if you have cyber insurance, if anything changes, you need to make sure you're getting with your insurance company to update them. That way, you're working with them so you can stay in compliance with the policy.
Yes, and that's what one thing I was trying to point out as well, and you kinda hit it on the head there, was the policy states in this questionnaire that you fill out that it says you have signed and complied that you have these sort of things, that you have antivirus, that you have data loss prevention, that you have all these sort of things, and the insurance is there as a safety net when all of those other things fail. That's what it's there for. People think of it as more of a golden ticket, and it's not that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a post incident. It's not going to prevent an incident. That's the best way
Mhm.
to look at it.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
All right. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap this up today?
No, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for having me. I really had fun. I always like talking about this, especially this time of year, and making sure people are aware of the real boogeyman that's
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming, and hopefully we can do more of these for folks. I do believe that there's a lot of information we're sharing and just more awareness to help everybody stay cyber safe.
But thanks everyone.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let me